No parent is ever prepared for the loss of a child. When we received word that my son shot himself, my wife and I were numb. The predictable aftermath of this news was akin to an explosion, a senseless act of violence, emotional trauma, pain, anger, and now a possible loss of a husband, a father, and a son, all caused by a selfish act. My wife and I were experiencing all these emotions as we drove to the Cincinnati hospital where David was. He was alive, but on life support. David's wife, Chris, was so angry she had no intention of telling my wife and me of his suicide attempt, so Chris's mother called me and told me the news. Chris didn't come to see us at the hospital. The trip back to Alabama was a bundle of hurt and confusion. We stayed in touch with the trauma nurses, but for a couple of weeks my son lingered and with no sign of improvement. Soon Chris texted saying David had gotten much worse. He was still unresponsive and now he had pneumonia. Chris informed us she had to make a decision about terminating his life support, and she was going to do what was best for her family even if it made us angry. I could only imagine the pain that she was in. My wife and I texted Chris back, "Chris, thank you for taking care of your children and your husband. No one should ever have to make this kind of decision. Please know that we don't blame you for any of these things. We trust your judgment without question. We know you'll do the very best thing for your family. We love you, period." So Chris gave her approval to remove David from life support, and David passed away a short time later. I heard a quote once that said, "When the night is the darkest, God's redemptive light shines the brightest." My wife and I had just lost a son. Would we lose our relationship with Chris, our daughter-in-law, and our grandchildren also? Fear makes us doubt, and doubt robs us of the power of our testimony. God has never let us down, and His redemptive plan is always on track. Overcoming faith pushes through adversity. So I don't know how or when, but God's love showed up and began to soften Chris's heart toward us. Seemingly out of the blue, Chris invited our Alabama family to share in a celebration of life for David. The service was wonderful. David's co-workers shared many of their stories of him, and we met with friends of the family and even had a dinner at Chris's home. In-depth conversations with Chris cleared up some obstacles which enabled her to open up more with us. We talk with Chris and the Grands regularly now, and doing fun things strengthens our family relationships. Laughter and joy are replacing anger and frustration. Our families comfort each other, and we're moving forward as we all journey through the grieving process. And we'll always miss David, and there have been some good days, and there have been some not so good days. But when things don't make a lot of sense, I rest in the truth that I have joy because of Christ in my life. God's redemptive love brought Jesus to this dark world, and through Christ's shed blood, the vertical relationship between God and man was forever established. The atoning blood of Christ has given us access to a right relationship with God. As the hands, the feet, and heart of the God of redemption, we Christians must be salt and light to a dark world. Moving forward, God is growing me, and I'm looking for opportunities to share God's redemptive love with others.